Welcome to another Pantheon Roundtable, a weekly Pantheon Roundtable, in fact. We're joined by some of the usual lineup, of course, myself and Rob. We have Ben, we have Salim, and game designer, he does it for the shorties, Corey.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's been another big week for Pantheon news. Ben, you are the foremost information on what's going on with Pantheon. But first, we've just been told by a friend of ours, it's your birthday today.
It was. I wasn't expecting that to come up, but thank you.
Well, it still is your birthday. It's not like you woke up and it was your birthday for a second, then it changed.
You know, as the sun goes down, the day is over, so now it's my birth night, I guess.
There we go. Congratulations for
Thank
another
you.
trip around the sun. Hopefully it was enjoyable for you.
Yeah, it was good. Good to hear.
You can thank Davlin, by the way, for that. He shot that one at us. What has been going on in the realm of Pantheon for the last week?
Well, it's been busy. Obviously, we've been keeping at things as much as we can. We've been seeing some great numbers on the website, a lot of participation, a lot of suggestions, a lot of ideas coming in. It's been awesome to get into the community and just start getting some of that stuff together. There's also an initiative going on right now for fan sites as well. Fan sites are starting to get together. I believe that they're meeting tonight, a lot of them, to discuss some things. So that's pretty cool. We're excited about what comes out of there. We're moving forward on the game. The funding that we've received so far has been great. It's helped us out a lot in what we've been able to do. We're looking at possibilities for future funding as well. So we're putting together some plans for what we can do down that road. But a lot of good things coming together, and over the next few weeks, we'll have even more. So exciting times for Pantheon.
Ben, what about your end of things? You get to see a lot of the project as it grows and develops. Not Ben, Salim. Wow.
That's fine. It's my birthday too.
Oh, yeah, congratulations!
He's always trying to steal my thunder. Look at this.
It's hard being 18. You know, it's really tough being 18. I can't drink or anything.
tough to deal with. What's been going on for you this week? Rob!
This is going to be a silly show. Yes.
What's been going on for you this week, Salim? What developments have you been able to see? What's coming out for you?
It's actually been kind of a boring week because we've been doing a lot of organization and trying to bang out the order of things schedule-wise, stuff like that, and managing the art side of things. Trying to finalize our visual style and stuff like that. So it's been a more management week than a creative week for me. But it's Monday. It's a new week now, so I plan on doing some more creative stuff this week.
Corey, this is the first time for you here. Go and introduce yourself to the community if people haven't already heard about you. What do you do for Pantheon?
I am a game designer on the project. Right now, I'm currently working on the climatization and travel systems, assisting the others as they need as well. Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having us and for doing this for us on the reg. We definitely appreciate that.
For those that haven't been here before, for the first week of the weekly Pantheon Roundtable, we have, of course, our chat on the twitch.tv page. That isn't where we're taking questions, though. Questions and comments are going to come directly from the Pantheon Rise of the Fallen chat room at pantheonrotf.com/chat. You do have to be a pledger or donator to the project in order to be a part of that chat. I believe the minimum is like $15. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ben?
Yep. Yeah, $15.
$5.
$15.
Or $5 for the supporter level, but the price starts at $15.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Again, guys, every contribution to Pantheon is appreciated. You guys have earned back so much money from your Kickstarter, and not just from your Kickstarter, but from so much more. The project continues to grow. Again, we are going to be taking questions directly from the chat room, so feel free to start throwing your questions, your comments in there. We're going to try and interact with you guys a little bit more this week, try and get you a little more included on this one. So again, feel free to throw out anything in that chat room you guys would like to use. Our chat room, twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show. We love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. But again, you have to be a contributor to participate in this weekly event. With that being said, Ben, you guys have a couple updates you want to go on and provide the context for today's show, so go ahead.
Yeah, well, Tony's been turning out a lot of stuff. Well, Tony and Mac, and then the rest of the team. So we had the big one last week was the map. Finally, a high resolution map, which is really cool. In fact, some people are already putting it into the Google Maps API, so they're getting plans started there, which is cool. That was the really nice thing. We've got a couple of other cool things coming up this week. We've got a lot more lore. In fact, a full calendar is coming out. That will be later this week, and there's a couple of other things planned, so stay tuned to the site for that. However, this week for our roundtable, we wanted to do it a little bit differently than we have in the past. We wanted to get down to the grit, like what we've been wanting to do from the start, and that's to incorporate you guys as the audience, as the supporters, and talk about the kinds of things that you guys want to talk about. So we've opened up our chat. If you're a supporter, you can join us, as mentioned in the Pantheon ROTF.com web chat. And what we're going to talk tonight about is about rare camps, rare spawns, how they should be implemented. Should they be there? Should long camps be there? This is something that the team's been talking about, so now we want to talk to you about it, get your thoughts on it.
There we go. Now, what do you guys mean by rare camps? Are you talking about massive groups of rare mobs, or singular individual rare mobs that sometimes spawn inside camps, or camps that may or may not have a rare mob in it? Like, give us some parameters for what you mean.
So back in the old days, the people would remember well some of the long rare camps, whether it be for a rare named, or a rare spawn from a named, or a rare spawn from a rare named. And some of these camps, you would sit there with a group of friends, and you'd kill all of the placeholders and wait for the respawn to come around. And then once the respawn comes around, you hope that the rare name spawns. And if he does, then you kill it and hopefully get the loot. Sometimes this could last for hours. In some extreme cases, it would last for days. But yeah, that's the kind of thing that we're going to be talking about tonight.
And what kind of loot do we have accessible for as questions start to come in from the questions and comments, rather, from the chat? Actually, our first one there from Pharaoh the Gnome. He's saying rare camps, yes. Rare spawn, yes. Instanced content, and I assume he's talking specifically about these rares, he's saying no. Now, what does someone mean by instanced content for rare spawns?
Well, what he's probably doing... Go ahead, Celine.
He's just asking that we don't put a bunch of stuff behind an instance wall, which means that everybody gets their own copy of that guy. Like we said from the start, our content is 99.9% contested. We will have instance technology, but really it's just because instance technology allows us to do certain things. You look at a game like FF11, they have a lot of instance stuff, Burning Circle stuff, and yet they still manage to have extremely, extremely rare items, Kraken Club being one of the best examples. So they were able to integrate the stuff in a way that to me feels good. It didn't break the experience for me. My desire is that we have rare spawns. Someone in chat says Pigeon, which is a good one. Quillamane,
Quillamane.
We have rare spawns that move around. I mean, I played a mage. Quillamane was my bane.
That's fun so much.
But you know what? It didn't matter, right? I was in North Corona, and shouting for people to help Quillamane. If you spot Quillamane, mage looking for epic loot, epic loot drop or component drop. People were running around. I had bards group with me and say, "Hey, dude, I'll run you around, see if we can find it." Rangers would pop in so they could use their advanced tracking. It was great for me. It was a great experience for me, and we will definitely have stuff like that. If anyone ever camped Veniki and Dragon Necropolis, we will have stuff like that. And rare spawn can spawn on any rat, spawn point, static, or roamer. Pain in the rear to find that guy. But when you found him and you saw he had the I forget what the knuckles were that he had. Were they will stoppers? I don't remember. The ones that proc slow. When he had it in his hand, you're like, yes, thank you. Of course, he's about to proc slow on you a lot, and killing him is not going to be so simple. But even still, when you get that item off of them that you see in his hand, you are quite excited. So, our philosophy is to bring that back. If we lock something behind an instance wall, it would be, like I said, we would probably follow along the lines of FF11, where whatever is there, we're going to it's going to remain challenging regardless. The drop rate's going to be probably pretty rare for whatever item is being sought after. Getting to that particular instance is going to be a pain in the butt. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of philosophies flying there, but in general, that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, the maybe Corey.
Hang on. And just to make a point, I'm not saying there won't be any static spawns. There could definitely still be AC spawns. EverQuest had it all. Some people actually like being able to sit in a spot, get a cup of coffee, and camp a mob. And I don't think there's any reason not to have that stuff. It's unfortunate that if you're not of that mindset, or you're not in the mood to do that, and maybe your quest is having you do that, or the item that drops there is particular, in this case, just happens to be a static spawn. You're not always going to be happy about what you have to do it. But when you get that item, everything's forgiven at that point, right? So we'll have a mix of both. We'll have moving spawns, we'll have static spawns, we'll have spawns that could be on either one. But yeah, the door is open, all that stuff.
And the thing with sorry.
No, go ahead.
The thing with instancing is you can't really then control to an extent like how often certain items enter the world either, because if you have a lot of loot hidden behind that, it's just dependent on how often you get a group of people together to run it, and it could be hundreds, thousands of times. And then, that works for some games. I don't think that's really what we're going to be going for here, though. Like, in Warcraft, you kind of burn through your gear so quickly.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because, oh, well, my timer's up. I'm just going to go run the instance again until I get what I want. And I'm glad it's there for those that enjoy it, but I don't think that's quite what we're going for here.
As a designer,
oh, go ahead. I was just going to respond to something.
I just want to pick Corey's brain for a moment. As someone who is in the guts of this, designing the game itself, is it easier for you to deal with instance content, or do you prefer to keep everything open world to make sure things are well regulated like that? You, as a specific designer, what do you prefer?
Just me personally, I'm more of a fan of like open content versus instanced. I think instanced is great for telling stories, or for very specific things, like maybe for like a quest arc, or like a specific like quest NPC maybe that you need to go after. But as far as economics go, as far as enjoyability and kind of being able to grab some random people and meet new people, I think non-instance content is the way to go personally.
And to the point about instancing, if you think about it, EverQuest is effectively a bunch of instances. I mean, it's a bunch of zones that have their own rules. It's just they're not copies of those zones that exist. Which is where obviously we're going to be a zone-based game. We just won't have copies of those zones. EQ2 has the ability to spawn copies when it gets too populated or whatever, and obviously that means they're just duplicates of spawns. But there was something in here that someone said about, where is it? It's Oberon. Oberon, what did you say? Where are you? Man, the thing keeps resetting when people type.
I think I just saw it here. Camping for rare spawns. Where's my scroll bar?
Yeah, while you look that up, the one comment here more recently that really kind of drives home the point.
Oh, Brandis, sorry, go ahead.
From RP the Hot Rod, saying that he believes rare spawns are important as it helps encourage community interaction, and I think that's I think that's really the gist of the whole thing is when you have that kind of rare thing, it promotes community to come together. You make new friends, you experience new experiences. It's not going to be for everyone, like there are going to be people who don't want to sit around for hours and camp something. But if you enjoy the social aspect of the game, hopefully that's why you enjoy Pantheon, then that just gives you one more opportunity to make more friends, make a reputation while you're at it.
Yeah.
And
Brandis, I found the thing. Brandis said, he thinks that rare loot is better distributed as global drops. We'll have those too. I mean, there's no reason to, and I've spoken this before, as a guy who might be running through a zone and I randomly kill an orc or whatever, or I save someone who's about to die to something, and that orc drops a global rare that is extremely rare. Imagine how rewarding that is. I didn't camp. I didn't do any of that stuff. I just helped someone out, and now there's this loot here. Now, granted, I'm probably gonna offer it to them, you see if they need it or whatever, roll on it. But even still, I love the notion of global loot. It's a fantastic concept. It's like I love the notion of sweepers and low-level zones, because when you grow up big enough to challenge that guy, he's got something on him. You've probably seen him a couple times when he's killed you with that mace in his hand, and you found out that mace has some awesome proc on it or some cool stats, and now now you're looking for him. You know where he is. You've seen him several times. Of course, because of the way things work, when you're actually looking for him, he probably won't be up. But yeah, I mean, it's we're not going to flood our game world with tons of items. But because of that, each individual item needs to be important. Each item, arguably should last a couple, up until the high levels. If you get in low level area, citing FF11 again, Leaping Lizzie and his boots. Those boots are super valuable, but that guy is not easy to find. So we'll definitely have different ways that we implement rare mobs, global loot, static spawns, moving around spawns, and I think that it'll be enjoyable because everyone can kind of pick their poison, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, if it comes to something like J boots, you might have to do a static spawn and then find a guy running around at warp speed while you're carrying a bunch of money. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say oh, sorry.
When I describe a gameplay experience like that, you laugh, but you laugh because it's funny. Like it was a fun experience. I mean, I camped the AC for almost 72 hours straight. And my birthday happened over my camp, and my friends wanted to take me out. And my girlfriend, now wife, she's like, go out, have fun. And she sat there and camped, played my mage, camped the AC and OT while I was out for my birthday for a few hours. I came back and went right back to it. Like that memory is not a bad memory to me. I enjoyed it. Once I got the ring off of him, I was ecstatic. Like I couldn't believe it. I was so
That's
happy.
True love.
Yeah.
That's when you know she's a keeper, right?
What happens then, just to be kind of the devil's advocate, and one of the comments that Kabarakin brought up in chat here, and I also saw it in the think tank as well. What happens then when something becomes so desired that it becomes, kind of roadblocked? And well, more specifically, if Pantheon's a progression-based game, if there's going to be progression in Pantheon, what happens when something is so rare that it ends up being roadblocked to people who are trying? Can you honestly name something? That's all perception, right? Outside of an epic quest drop, which I don't think anyone can argue that when epics came out, they were the thing you had to have, whatever class you're playing, once you're a max level. You had to have them if you were even to be considered, elite for your class. But outside of that, can you really say that there was any rare spawn drop that was a requirement? You didn't have to have it. Well, the FBSS is a great example. Bloodthirsty Ghoul, yeah, that I want that thing really bad, and from my point of view, I have to have that. But that thing was tradable. If I could go out and get money if I could farm money and go find a player who has an FBSS and he doesn't need it, I can buy it from him. I don't have to do that. What about right? That actually brings up another question, but specifically what I think he's talking about here are things like the Vexel keys, for instance. Some of those shards are extremely rare.
If you're tying it to, I mean, if the subject is rare spawns and loot, that's way different than key cans and yeah.
So going back a little bit on your previous point, if you can just buy an FPSS, one of the things that I noticed, particularly when I was playing on the Fippy Darkpaw to find that progression server there, was that a lot of these camps ended up being perma-camped by like gold farmers and stuff like that. So what happens in a case like that? Like how can we distribute things evenly but still have some challenge and some merit in earning the?
honestly, if you talk specifically about gold farmers, if a development team goes down a line of trying to do stuff to stop gold farmers until the point where it starts affecting gameplay, then you're doing a disservice to the people who are paying you. I I think that as developers, it is our responsibility to define our gameplay experience and make sure that we obviously can't have rose-colored glasses. We can't pretend like there will never be gold farmers, and if we can find ways to stop them or curb them, then we need to. But in a way of a gold farmer camping something or someone who's hacking, that's what CS for. I mean, we give players the ability. If it's not a gold farmer, if it's just some guild camping a spawn, there's a point where players have to police themselves. If it's getting out of hand, if people are, cussing at each other and doing all kinds of threats, then, you let CS get involved. But people build reputations, right? I go back to Star Wars Galaxies, one character per server. A good reason for that is because you are that character. You invest a lot of time in that character, and you start, being a douchebag. Well, if people aren't gonna know that, you can't change your name. You can't do any of that stuff. So it's all about reputation. If you want to be that guy that takes everyone's camps, or the guild takes everyone's camps, then people are just not going to like you. Of course, if you're the guild that's killing everything on the server, then people will flock to you because they want to join you. So it's kind of a weird catch-22. But I think really, there's a point where players have to police themselves, and that's why you're playing this. That's why you want contested content, right? I mean, that's the core of it. If you don't want that situation, then we have to put in tools to stop that. And one of the main tools for stopping that is instances.
Right.
We can make a spawn move around, we can do all that kind of stuff, but that just means that people are going to camp the area. That means that it requires more effort, requires a group of people to camp a spawn versus one guy, depending on the area. And they have to move around, which gives you, Pigeon's a really good example, right? You cannot camp Pigeon. You have to run around. Well, I mean, again, you can't. I mean, you got tracking, then you got a huge advantage, but you can't camp that. If you got a group of people running around you and you're coordinated, fine. If you want to sit there all day and do that, then that's what you're doing that day. There's a whole other game world to go do stuff or other things to camp. So yeah, I think really that particular thing, and I've been a victim of it. I'm not, a guy who's speaking who didn't have experience with it. I've had experienced it in FF11. I've experienced it in EverQuest. It can suck for sure. It's got me to the point where I've logged out of the game. But I can cite the same type of, I can cite the same experience I've had with World of Warcraft for some other reason. At some point, something happens that makes me mad. And I have to stop and say, man, this is out of my control. You know what? I'm just going to take a break. But I think ultimately that if our community is as awesome as, the community here, there'll always be some bad eggs that people work it out. And that's that's another side of social aspect, right? Is send someone to tell, hey, dude, you know what? How long are you going to be here? What do you need from this camp? Oh, well, I just need this. If this drops, I'll let you know, and you can come down and loot it. Hopefully that's how most experiences turn out.
Another mechanic was brought up. Another side of the rare loot and seeing who gets what is claiming. I believe Technize in the chat room and in our stream brought it up. How exactly do you picture claiming to work with Pantheon? Are you even going to allow claiming in the first place?
There is no locking of mobs. We would probably fall. I mean, we have to have claiming of some sort. As far as when the mob dies, who does it belong to, so we can give XP and stuff like that. So we haven't really talked about how we want to handle that. But that's another one of those things that it can get kind of kooky when you start thinking, oh, I want to make sure that the little guy is represented. Vanguard's reverse claiming stuff was kind of cool. But what that did in the long run, I don't know, because Vanguard didn't have the same type of rare camp environment that EverQuest did. So we'll have to. I think that particular thing is probably going to end up being a think tank discussion that's high on the list once people start jumping into the game, or once we start talking about it a little more.
Are you considering
that can get go down a rabbit hole for sure.
Go ahead, Rob.
You could always make claiming something like a PvP thing where you could actually make it so that if two people take down the same mob, they have to fight for it.
Corey's drooling at that idea, I bet.
That's actually not a bad. I mean, it's not a bad suggestion. It doesn't make everyone smile, but
Yeah.
Like the mob dies and the corpse goes into like this holding tank and some guy pops out. The dude from Samurai Showdown pops out with his white flags and he's like, "Go!"
Well, I thought of it also because I'm not sure if any of you played Castle Crashers, but at the end of each of the boss fights, if you're in a multiplayer game, the players then have to fight for who gets the kiss from the girl.
Get to kiss the princess. Yeah.
Corey, how would that function? If again, game designer here, how would that function? How would you put that in game?
How would I put like a dual system in?
Yeah, say, okay, well, you both got the tag on the mob. Go at it, see who gets the loot.
I don't know. It'd be really early to say on that. I hadn't actually considered that angle. That's interesting. I don't know that actually probably fit our scope, but it's food for thought and discussion. Yeah.
Maybe
just,
make
just
it.
so you,
just so you know Corey's background too, he's a big advocate of PvP. So PvP.
Yeah, on the Bartle scale, I scaled really high on the exploration and killer aspects. So maybe I'm not the right person to ask.
I could see after like fighting a big dragon, like with two like raid guilds that just fought this dragon, and after it's down, they're like, okay, who gets the loot? And there's just like two sides getting ready to fight.
It would bring a whole new meta to mob and boss kills, where not only do you have to worry about, okay, how do we kill this boss? How do we stop people from trying to tag the mob as well, and then coming in and killing us as we're killing it?
So, as we've actually been talking about Vex Thal from early EQ days, that reminded me, we had a similar issue, actually. One of the rival guilds that we had on our server, I played on Solsic Row, and I'm not going to mention names, but it always came down to like our guild and another, basically who could sort of out-meta each other with the GM intervention. And it was whoever's head prevailed better won. So maybe it's not so crazy to think of that later. But
yeah, I mean that's certainly a cool concept. I like it. We actually were talking a couple weeks ago about if we can't get PvP servers in because of the way our content works, it serves really our world works really well with us coming up with like a wild areas where there's just full on PvP. There's still content in there, but it's just open PvP. Kind of like anyone who play Anarchy Online, they just had some areas that were, it's open PvP. You pop in, you can start fighting fools. There's content there. It was never required, really for any content. Which if we did that, we would more likely go the same route. Like we wouldn't put epics in open contest zone. But the way that our world works, it would be pretty interesting. It could be really interesting to have that aspect. The environment's messing with you while you're PvPing this guy, while you're trying to kill this other guy. Could be some great stuff that comes out of the game.
It creates this whole new meta, and I hate to circumvent the chat room because there's a lot of chat going on, guys, if you're not in it, by the way. It creates this whole new meta guild of, okay, we don't kill bosses, we kill guilds that are about to kill bosses and take their stuff.
So that we can duel them for their stuff.
Hey, if it works.
Well, at least the pro side of that, at least you'd know when you're going to be engaging another group of players, so it wouldn't be like you'd be totally ganked or blindsided. So
yeah, the PvE guilds would have to build themselves around not only killing the boss, but defending against the oncoming tag and ensuing fight to try and get the loot itself. But then you also have the guilds that are trying to just kill off the raid groups and try to focus them down and mess with the bosses and then try and get the kill.
And you could add something on top of that where if the duel takes too long, the mob just gets up and walks away. It's like, all right, I'm out of here. Just kind of slinks away.
Fighting, I'm going to take off.
What are you guys doing? You're supposed to be fighting me, not fighting each other. I'm done.
I'm out.
I'm out. See ya.
Take it another level and make it like Super Saiyan. He's all powered up more the next time you go to fight him.
Oh my god. Some people are saying, please don't force PvP on us.
Of course not.
Yeah,
this is all. I think the concept is great, and yeah, I would not while I am certainly compelled to explore that avenue, it would not be put in a way where anyone is forced or anything like that. It's just an interesting concept. I haven't seen that anywhere except for games like Castle Crash stuff. But as far as MMOs go, I haven't. I can't think of anything that's done that. It's pretty cool.
Even the Ratchet and Clank has gotten a little bit competitive co-op now too.
Really?
Yeah.
One, yeah.
All for one, yeah. Yeah.
One thing I find interesting to the PvP versus PvE arguments here, as a player who largely played on PvE in original EQ1, there were a lot of PvEers that actually engaged in a high level of trolling and sort of PvP-like behavior in the first place.
Yes.
Like ogres blocking certain doorways in Kazakh Thule, so I couldn't farm Crusaders, for example, on my Shadow Knight. You know who you are. It happens. Or clerics or channers CCing mobs, clearing ownership, taking them off somewhere else in the zone, all kinds of things to screw with you. So some of you PvEers or pure PvEers aren't quite as white knight, I think, as you'd like. I'll just leave that there.
Well, that's just because there's no consequence for them in that case because you can't hit them.
Right. In
so
PvP,
they're being
you can
empowered
hit back.
by them.
That's what I like about those things. I'm not some ganking jerk, but being able to actually have some kind of recourse against that, it's kind of nice sometimes. Anyway, end rant. Sorry.
We're about halfway through tonight's broadcast. Again, thank you everyone for joining us both on twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show and over in the chat room at Pantheon, rotf.com/chat. Again, thank you everyone for being here. Make sure you go over to the Pantheon website. We have an official Rob and Dan group over there. I'll link the group in just a minute here in chat. We also post events, and we have the Rob, Daniel, and Sons official story going on in there as well, where I've been writing little bits of story for how we want to be in game. That has been way too much fun and not productive at all.
If you're not having fun, what's the point, right?
Yeah. Going back to the chat room here, a lot of people are saying they do want solid PvE experiences they can enjoy on their own without having to stress about that PvP. Obviously, there is a community for the PvP side of things as well, but will there be completely non-PvP rare mobs that people can take advantage of, that they never have to worry about PvP?
Well, just let me reiterate what our game is.
Yeah.
Our game's focus is a PvE experience. Mm-hmm. PvP was a stretch goal. I only brought up the wild areas because we were having a discussion about, hey, maybe we can sneak some PvP in here, but it's completely optional. We are not going to create an environment, at least not in our core server farm or whatever, however you want to describe it, that is going to focus on PvP. That is not the game we're making first, but I think that the notion of PvP based on some of the systems and stuff that we're talking about, and just because it's kind of a flash to the old school, are cool concepts, and I'm excited about getting to that point so we can create that particular gameplay for those people who are interested. Because EverQuest PvP was fun, one item loot, things like that. Those concepts are fun. I mean, people who are interested in that, it's fun, and I think that was done well, as far as having you look over your shoulder, being really stressed out about stuff, worried about certain mechanics in game, like having no drop items or this, that, and the other, carrying your coin around with you. Those things are great for that particular type of game.
So,
and we want to try to bring that stuff back.
Just changing the topic a little bit. It's all on the same topic, but Trinsic is asking, as designers, do you typically classify things as ultra rare, very rare, rare, uncommon, common, all that sort of thing? If so, what percentages do you typically assign to them?
Depends on the project.
Not something that's just as a general design. But
one thing, first off, we probably wouldn't want to release those percentages, but ultimately, I have a very particular way that I implement drops on mobs. But with this particular game, while that'll probably still be the case, we're having a lot less items, so we don't need 4 billion levels of rarity, which drives me nuts. a mob could have a common drop and a rare drop, and that's it. How rare that particular drop is, it may or may not be the same across the board. But the notion of this thing being pink or this one being orange, I really would rather not see that. I hate that. At least for the type of game we're playing.
It kind of takes away from the item when it has the color code, right? It kind of takes away just from the item overall.
Yeah. You think about EverQuest, up until, even after I left EverQuest, after Gates of Discord, items were handmade. I mean, it was, there was an internal way to kind of define power and what needs to be here. This zone is this powerful, so here's kind of the ranges you have on stats and stuff like that. But people still handmade their stuff. They still came up with combinations of this, that, and the other. And they were able to do that because there were less items being generated. I think for Eldon, I didn't name all the items in Eldon. I think it was like 2,000 items versus, Vanguard had 400,000 potentially crafted items in its database. So I don't like the notion of ultra rare, legendary, all that stuff. Let players apply a tag to them, just from their experience. This item is my legendary item in my group of items because I camped this thing for 4 hours or whatever, or that fight was really epic and I got this sword. Sure, that guy may have 2 Lamentation blades. I got 1. I got lucky with this game, and it's the best thing in my inventory because of the experience and just because it's generally powerful. So yeah, I don't like attaching those types of labels for sure. That's when people look at loot, look at the stats, not instantly gravitate to pink. I want them to investigate an item, look at the stats, and let them decide what it is for them. Look at the items they already have. Hey, this sword works really well. That may be a common drop. But for them, it's their first time killing that guy, and they got that cool loot. So yeah.
That kind of goes back to having rare spawns, like having less items and having those rare spawns allows you the opportunity to get better attachments to your items by, I happen to be here in this place in this time and I got this rare spawn, I got this item, it's really cool. Like I spent some time and I have some actual attachment to that, like a story to go with it. And anywho, sorry, jumping off track there.
Oh no, that's exactly. That fits right in with it. Yep.
It's great to get a piece of loot, and this is I'm tying in. I had the question there for a minute. Fatal Minion. There it is. Intriguing question. It's great to have that little bit of, well, I did this and this and this and this to get just this, and it was awesome. Because maybe you had a guild participating in it, or maybe you had friends helping you out too. You got resources. You went to this instance at this time, and we had a really short lockout to do it. You have a great story right there. That's what makes it an MMO experience.
Yeah, if I can click on my item and this is the blade, blade of the immortal, and when I inspect it, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about what I went through. Anyone who went through the initial epic stuff in EverQuest, I am sure that you looked at that epic when you got it and you were like, holy moly. Like all the multi-quests and stuff that you might have had to have done, and sitting there, biting your fingernails, like, oh man, is it gonna work? Is it, oh, I got it, having to go to airplane and things like that. Like that experience, camping Lower Guck, those experiences, they mean so much to you. It's almost like you click on this thing and your memory just fills your brain with this book. I mean, it's just this novel, that you experienced. I just love that stuff, and you can tell that I have a crap ton of memories. And it really means a lot to me as a developer and a player to bring that into this type of game, and not be shackled by the requirement to be overly mainstream or try to please everyone. We're in a situation where we're putting forth a game that we want to make for these reasons, and obviously we're all open to new ideas and things like that, but the identity of this game is a game that we want to play, that we know you guys want to play, and it's nice to be in a situation where we can push these ideas out there and not be stressed out about, oh man, well, we're not getting these 300,000 people over here. Well, we're not, because it's not the game we're making. So yeah, this is going to be a great experience for me for sure.
That sort of ties in, and this might even answer their questions, what you just said. But both Oberon and Dominic Falcon, a couple of other people have mentioned it. So how does it sort of tie into Brad's statement of only being able to, if you're only able to play 2 or 3 hours a day, you'll still be able to enjoy the game. Dominic Falcon says, let's boil this down. If someone is incapable of playing for more than 2-3 hours a day, do they need to just give up on attaining items from rare spawns, or unless they can buy it from an auction house? What do we say to that?
Well, no, I mean, like I said earlier, it's you, if so, everything has a chance, right? Everything has a chance. If you can only dedicate 2 or 3 hours to gameplay experience to something, then, and you want to focus on camping something, then you spend 2 or 3 hours camping. Maybe you'll get lucky, maybe you won't. There could be a guy who's been camping for 3 days and he never gets it. You log on for an hour and get it.
Stormfeather. Sorry.
There you go. We have not defined what a slice of time is in our game, what the average play session is. We haven't defined it at all. I mean, Brad's thrown out a couple hours here and there, but that's based on just purely on conjecture at this point, because we have not sat down and made a game and have a vertical slice and thought about the philosophy of how long it's going to take people. So are you going to be able to log in a game and do something for, should you get something out of it 2 or 3 hours? Yeah, that hopefully, yes. I mean, get to a group, maybe hopefully traveling there is fun, but get to a group, go to a dungeon, kill some stuff, get some XP, make some friends. You could do a lot of that stuff in 2 or 3 hours. Excuse me. Sorry. But if your notion is to focus purely on a camp, someone has that camp and you got to travel to another camp, maybe you'll probably run into that. You could run into that whether you played 8 hours too.
Right.
If the person that's on the camp is waiting 8 hours. So yeah, I would like a snapshot of, if it's 2 or 3 hours, which I think is reasonable. Yeah, you should be able to have a good experience in our game. If it's going to be an experience related to exactly what you log in and plan on doing, there's no guarantees there. There's no guarantees of that in any game.
And before we started broadcasting today, actually, Ben, you made an excellent point. There's not enough hours in the day. So there's going to be times, people aren't going to be able to get everything or do everything. So actually being able to go to an auction house and pick up that rare spawn item that you probably don't have enough time for, I think that's perfectly a viable option. Also asking your friends and guildmates if they could try to get the item too, if it's not a bind on pickup type item. Perfectly viable.
I'm a big Might and Magic fan, and I remember, I think I was playing Might and Magic 6 when it first came out years and years ago. And I was playing it for a while, and then I found one of those trainer cheats, and I'm like, ooh, I can give myself unlimited gold. I can
Cheater.
Exactly.
Cheater.
So that's what I did. I'm like, I'm going to try this, and so I gave myself instant gratification. I got everything that I wanted, and I instantly lost interest in the game after that. I played it for maybe another hour, and then I'm like, there's no reason to keep going. So I think dangling carrot theory is perfectly valid. The longer you work for something, the more valuable it is. So.
Also, speaking from some recent personal experience, somebody who has very little free time on their hands these days, I recently started playing Project 99 like a lot of us did. And, going back and farming some of the mobs, I have time to maybe kill something that spawns every 10 minutes. Well, if that's an orc that's dropping scalps or belts or something, maybe I don't personally care about that, but that's something I can sell to other players. Maybe something, we should consider as designers is, besides having those rare spawns, whatever that person only has, we've defined this as the play time, there should be other things. You're getting experience along the way. You're getting other stuff. Maybe you could, it might be of interest to somebody else who has oodles of cash. So it can be done with little bits of time, but it just depends on what's available, and it's on us, I think, to make sure that there are other opportunities besides just the best. Well, I guess it's all quantitative matter, like how you perceive it, but just having options is good.
One thing I think is really important to kind of outline as we're talking about being able to trade certain pieces of loot and exchange things and kind of being able to move loot through the economy. Where is the dividing line for you guys between bind on equip, bind on pickup, and non-bind? Like where are you guys putting those distinctions?
I am of the camp, and I've had raiders cussing me out for this, which is really weird, but I believe that the more effort it takes for you to get an item, the more control you should have over what you can do with that item.
I agree.
So, based on that argument, all raid loot should be tradable. It should be whatever, because you just spent however many hours and saved up how much DKP to get an item. So you should be able to do what you want with it in regards to item tags. So since our frame is older school games, no drop was certainly not a rule in EverQuest. Neither was it in FF11. I am fine with people. I mean, it's all social. All goes back to that point, right? I want people to talk to each other. I want people to shout that they're trading things. I want people to interact with each other, not just in voice, not having to jump on someone's vent and type in their IP and all this other stuff. I want people to actually try to communicate in game. Hey, send it to, hey, dude, I see you're on the FBSS. I've got some plat that I've been saving up because I haven't really been able to get to the Spire. The Bloodthirsty just kicks my butt. How much you selling it for? Like that's what I want. And if that item was not tradable, you would never get that. Locking. Going back to the rare spawn thing, locking those items on the person means that 2 or 3 hour person has no chance of getting it in general, right? So I think that avenue should be there, and I think that all as many items as possible should be tradable. Of course, quest related items and stuff like that, epics, those things should not be tradable at all. I mean, they're meant for you. They're an item of significant power, or they're for progression on the quest. But I am not a fan of fighting things BOE. I'm not. It's your item. If you camped an item for that long, you should have more control over it. I brought that up when I was working on Vanguard. I just brought it up as a point on the forums. The whole more effort you put in, and seriously, I mean, people went crazy on me, like, well, how could you think that? Raid items need to be no drop, they shouldn't be available to those who aren't. Well, it's your item, don't make it available to them. I know the point of, some guilds will just farm it once they don't need the loot and just sell it to make money. Well, okay, that's healthy. Like it's don't start throwing in the whole gold farmer part of it.
You knew
what I was
going to say.
Right? Take that out, because that's just a reality, right? But if you take that out, obviously in the perfect world, right, the idea that you would kill something, take something from it that's valuable and sell it, that's what we want. We want players interacting with each other, and killing other mobs to get coin to buy stuff from other players. There's nothing wrong with that.
One of the things that along those lines, and again, I'll refer back to my fairly recent activity on 50 Dark Paw. One of the things that happened there was there are several guilds that were very competitive and right on the bleeding edge and always competing against each other, and the rest of the server for that matter. But after time, some of the smaller guilds wanted to go after older targets, and then they were still being camped by these other guilds and whatnot. But I think one of the main problems was kind of on the community side, because what had happened was if you needed to go after something for a specific reason, usually, not always, but usually if it was something that these other guilds didn't particularly need and weren't doing for a very specific reason, then all you had to do was talk to them. And I think that's kind of a step into the social, where if you start communicating with other people, not everybody's going to be your friend. I'm not trying to be naive about it, but yeah, if you take the time to communicate with somebody, maybe work out some sort of services that you could offer in exchange, I don't know. There's always ways to communicate with people and work things out.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of people, a couple people in our chat room right now are referencing commerce and the economy, specifically Sketch and Fatal Mania. They're saying this is, being able to trade these kind of items at certain points in time. At least that helps drive an economy. It helps push commerce. That's a very good point. But to play devil's advocate just a little bit, after having seen, especially in World of Warcraft, how some of these item sales can negatively affect the raiding environment for the majority of us that did raid at the time. This was Frozen Throne, I think it was. And a lot of items were bind on equip when it came to raid gear. A lot of those items that dropped were actually bind on equip that weren't set pieces. And it really did a lot of damage to the community because we had a lot of people suddenly injecting themselves into the higher tier raids with higher item levels that specifically did not know how to handle those kinds of stats properly. Is that a concern for you at all? Or do you think this is something that is more artificially created for certain situations?
I guess for me, it's, I mean, I think your point is that you had people who were now powerful enough to do raids that had no idea how to raid because they had the items. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I think that obviously World of Warcraft's a very different game, and even though Frozen Throne, they didn't have like the recruiter or the find a raid stuff, or the raid finder stuff. The environment was still one where you could probably just pop into a guild and any guild effectively could raid, because that's how they're making their content, right? It's everyone can do a raid. It wasn't as prevalent at that point, but in our environment, that's probably not going to be the case. We may have smaller experiences, experiences meant for smaller groups of people, but significant raid targets are, like I said, it's not going to be. I don't want to see a designer sit down and say, okay, I'm making this guy, and here is a strategy to beat him. And that's how you do it. You hit the green button when it's green, and you run him over to a corner, and you stab him, and that's it. I would rather see people put Avatar War in, right? Where people were like, holy crap, there's kind of a strategy here. We got to get him over to a corner. We don't want him to repost anyone standing behind him. But God, getting him over, like there, something can always still go wrong, or there's other ways that you could do these things. And those things are figured out by top tier, or people who are focused on doing that type of stuff and learning strategy. Someone had to kill the Avatar War without having the best gear in the world, right? But then there's people who went after him that had the best gear that they could without, that wasn't on him, and they still couldn't kill him. So I understand. I get it for sure, and that's some of the stuff that I got when I said that I think that raid loot should be tradable. Was that specifically? If you are, once again, it goes back to players policing themselves. If you are a guild who pushes the envelope, who constantly kills mobs and stuff like that, you should be training people and bringing them into the raid. If there's another group of people who think they can just get together and just buy a bunch of loot and go kill mobs, I don't want that situation in our game. That's not what I'm hoping happens. There may certainly be some things that are less challenging, certainly smaller group stuff, but when it comes to a full-on raid, it's balls to the walls, and we're going to be as harsh as we possibly can. At least I hope that people are being as harsh as they possibly can, because once again, we're not talking about limiting raid size or anything like that, at least not to any low number. I'm hoping that it doesn't happen. I mean, we'll keep an eye on it. It's something that's definitely in the back of my head, but I think that we'll be okay for the most part.
Would you be up for raid bosses that switch up their strategy every so often, so it's not necessarily the same lather, rinse, repeat fight?
Yes. Yeah. Anyone who's played any content that I've put in knows that. Yeah, I'm all for that type of stuff. I like players thinking on their toes. I like every time you engage something and feeling kind of different. You're familiar with it, but hey, man, something randomly he does, or last time he did this at every 10%. Wait, now he's doing something different at that. Like that type of stuff. If you are prepared for it, then it gets boring, right? Like if you just know what you're doing, after a couple of tries, it can get boring. And I don't want people killing something twice saying it's on farm status. I think that the challenge should remain there for a good bit. Anyone who fought Sparkles or Arachnodon in Vanguard, knows what I'm talking about. It was just crazy. It was, just fun raid design that was just thrown in there. Like, hey, this would be cool if you did this. Oh, it'd be also cool if you did this. And these two things work together. There was no strategy involved. It was just, this guy's just kind of this kooky concept. Same with our big spider we put in. And people got through it. They started figuring out things like, Arachnodon would put a web on you, and people were hitting the person to get them out of the web. They couldn't. It's because webs are weak to slashing, not to blunt. But people hadn't had to deal with that concept up to that point. But once they figured it out, it's like, oh God, we got to swap to our slashers, or we got that's type of stuff that I want to see in for sure.
Lead me into the corner once, shame on you. Lead me into the corner 500 times, shame on me.
Yeah.
We're getting to the end of the hour for today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here. Really quick though, Rob, we just got transcoded.
Really? We got transcode option, huh?
We just got transcoded here on twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show. I believe this is our first transcode ever too.
I'm gonna go into.
For those that don't know what that is, by the way, it means we have enough viewers and enough activity that we have multiple quality levels to our stream.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Thank you everyone for joining us here. Ben, anything you'd like to say? We'll go across the board for all of you, but Ben, go ahead first. Anything you'd like to say?
I just wanted to thank again the community again for being part of this. We're going to be watching the forums, watching the think tank in particular. Think tank is awesome for getting topics like this. It's going to be a new topic every year, so just stay tuned and we'll get everything addressed and have fun doing it.
Salim?
Yeah, I really can't say any better than Ben. I mean, it's, once again, I know I haven't been as active because I've been doing a lot of the background stuff. But when I do pop on, I've got messages from people and stuff like that, and seeing people engage each other. Think tank is certainly a great place to jump in there, and it's a huge rabbit hole. They'll start reading something like, oh man, now I got to read this. Oh wait, there's this other thing over here. Oh wow, there's 4 hours gone. So that was like camping a spawn. I didn't get the item I wanted. But yeah, it's been great, and I'm looking forward to doing this. I mean, I wish we could do it more than once a week. It feels good to talk about these things and see people's reactions, and then obviously the post tells that I get. It's always good to see that people are positive and that we seem to be hitting the right keys. And I think that the experience of the team is kind of showing through whenever we talk about these things, that we understand, this may have sucked, but here's a better way to think about it, or a different way to think about it, and how it could work at a high level. So yeah, I enjoy this stuff, and I enjoy everyone that's participating. It's fun. I'm looking forward to doing this for the next 3-4 years.
Corey?
Absolutely. I mean, I can't really, I think, add much more than those guys already did. Just, thanks for having us as always. And the response from the community is amazing. Like, without you guys, we couldn't be doing what we're doing, and we love what we're doing. So we're really grateful to, have the opportunity and have your support and everybody else's support. And yeah, we just look forward to kicking butt and getting this project out in the next 3-4 years.
Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this once again. We do this every single week, every Monday at 7 p.m. EST. Again, Pantheon Roundtable, sometimes on the rare occasion, Pantheon Developer Series, where we get some actual development going on screen live for you. Thank you, everyone, on the PantheonROTF.com/chat website. We appreciate all the comments and questions. You guys have been amazing. Thank you for the thoughts, questions, comments again. Make sure you join our official Rob and Dan Show Pantheon group. It's in the chat here, uno momento. KTAM Radio is going to be doing something in just a few minutes. I'll be joining them at least. I'm probably going to play some Banished here too, because I just need some Banished. Sorry, Salim.
Stop it, man.
I'm sorry.
You know what? It's fine. Dark Souls 2 tomorrow, and I'm good.
Salim's already told us he's going to be gone for the
I mean, South Park has kept me busy. I'm almost finished my second playthrough of South Park, but Dark Souls 2, man. Dark Souls 2. Oh, God, I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
Thank you, everyone, for following us here on twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show. It's been an absolute pleasure, not just to have everyone from the Pantheon team, but for you guys as well. It's been amazing today, as always. That's going to be all for us. We're going to go to a short timeout. Then I'll be back with some Banished here, guys. You've been watching the weekly Pantheon Roundtable right here on twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show.